Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male. My name is Alex, and tonight I'm going to go ahead and read you another article from Carlyn Beccia. I've done a few of hers so far. This one is entitled, How the Me Too Movement Failed Women in the Workplace. Research shows it caused more hostility. It's time that we did more than use hashtags. And as I think I've said in other videos, I don't read these articles before I actually record the video because I want you guys to have my authentic, immediate reaction. And honestly, if I react in such a way that I don't think is going to be very interesting, I just don't use the video. Because this is really, for honestly, this is really like a practicing thing for me, just to get better at doing the videos. So I prefer to record myself reacting to them in the moment and then publishing what I can. And it's really important for men, today's men, to begin to speak out and articulate their feelings, our feelings, about sexual harassment in the workplace, romantic, interpersonal relationships, marriage, children, everything that we have opinions on that we have been encouraged to not talk about publicly. Maybe because we don't agree with what is what like the mainstream consensus is, or they're just, people just aren't interested in what we have to say. And I think that's been true in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas of life, that people just have not been remotely interested in anything that we have to say, especially in interpersonal relationships, when it comes to the relationships between men and women, what it's like dating, sexual harassment, all this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article and see what she has to say and respond to it. And hopefully, it doesn't make me and you guys too crazy. So let's see. I was recently rereading one of my favorite books, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I've never heard of that book. I came across a tip in his body language chapter that is brilliant, but not if you try it on a woman. Okay? Greene suggested that you walked up to someone who knew from behind. Greene suggested that you walk up to someone who knew from behind, or at an angle. I think there's a typo in here. I think she means to say, Greene suggested that you walk up to someone you know from behind or at an angle so they don't see you before you approach. Basically, surprise this person. He told readers to observe their body language the split second after they realize it is you. If it is disgust or contempt, they secretly hate your guts. Okay, what is the big deal here? Okay, let me be blunt. If you startle a woman, I don't care if you are Hugh Jackman or insert preferred TV husband here. That woman is preparing to claw your eyes out. Not in the first second, for the first 5 seconds. That is how long it will take her sympathetic nervous system to calm down enough for her to stop calculating whether she should try to outrun you or kick you in the groin. Yeah, that's pretty much true for all human beings when we're startled. Nothing really special about women here. Greene's tip might work on a dude fearful that his coworker secretly dislikes him. On a woman, you might get maced. Yeah, and on a guy, you might get punched in the face. Okay? This is... Oh my God. Okay. Margaret Atwood summed up this point far more poignantly. It's this famous quote. Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them. There is truth. Let me start here. There is truth to this point. When men are afraid that women will laugh at them, women are afraid that men will kill them. That doesn't mean that we are not afraid. I believe it's damn near 80% of all murder victims in the United States are men. We are by a vast majority, the victims of violent crime. Far more likely for a man to be a victim of violent crime than a woman. So this concept that every woman who is on the face of the earth is out there just waiting or terrified that some man she knows or doesn't know is going to come up and kill her is silly. It's silly to be brought to this level. I'm a man who suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. So I've had the experience that I'm sure a lot of non-traumatized women have had, and traumatized women have had. Walking up to their car in some dark parking lot at 1 o'clock in the morning and looking in the back seat to make sure nobody's there. I know what that's like, okay? This is not an experience unique to women. It's so insulting. So goddamn insulting that there's no empathy whatsoever for the vulnerability that we experience as men. This is the crosshairs men and women are caught in 5 years after the Me Too movement. Women just as fearful and men just as clueless. No, men just as fearful too. Because while a woman might be more afraid that a man is going to kill her, it doesn't mean that a man is not just as afraid that some woman is going to destroy his life. All right? Those fears for men and women are essentially equivalent. Your fear that some man is going to kill you, and our fear that some woman will destroy our lives and ruin our lives. That's one of our primary fears. And to deny it and to act like this doesn't exist just goes to show you how little insight and empathy the modern woman has for the modern man. And that's the kind of thing that breeds the hostility that she's apparently going to talk about here. Because women don't give a damn, and she is a perfect example of this. They do not give a damn about how we feel. And it begs another salient question. Has the movement benefited women in the workplace? The war of the hashtags. Hashtag Me Too, hashtag Not All Men, hashtag Some Stupid Hashtag. Despite these well-intentioned movements, everyone's teeth are still being rattled by the same potholes. Okay, that was a very strange metaphor. If you are outraged enough, then your response might be, sorry, but all men are guilty of intimidating women in some way, shape, or form. Let's hold them accountable. All, never, and always, these are murderous words. They kill conversations before they have taken their first breath. They are dichotomous words that paint people with black or white strokes. They don't allow for shades of sometimes, maybe, or even the slightly more forgiving, often. What? Often is slightly more forgiving than sometimes, maybe? What? Whatever. Most hashtags are labels with an implied all. These labels are shortcuts. It is a way for us to put people in their assigned boxes so we do not have to do the hard work of seeing people. And I mean really see people. See people as individuals. Let's see if she's able to follow through on that. All men are abusers? Of course not. Is life always beautiful or always painful? Thank God no, or we would never get out of bed. Are all clowns creepy? Okay, maybe that last one is a bad example, but you get my point. Life never runs in absolutes. Think in absolutes and you might as well live your life in a bomb shelter waiting for the explosion. And while the Me Too movement has brought about positive changes in society, it also has had some negative consequences in the workplace. Oh yeah, and remember, what was her name? Asia Argento, I believe is the woman's name. One of the really important initial leaders, celebrity leaders in this movement. Well, apparently she raped a guy, like a 17-year-old guy, and then paid him a bunch of money. Her and her husband paid him a bunch of money to keep quiet. So, whatever. The Harvard Business Review surveyed women before and after the 2016 Me Too movement. They found that sexual coercion dropped from 25% before the movement to 16% after the movement. Okay. Interesting, I guess. That's encouraging. But don't burn your bras just yet, ladies. They also found that gender harassment increased from 76% before 2016 to 92% after 2016. The kind of sexual harassment that gets men arrested or fired went down, but the kind that men get away with went up. What? How is a more hostile work environment a win for women? Guess what hostility leads to? More aggression. She doesn't even explain the difference here. What is the difference between sexual coercion and gender harassment? What's the difference? Becca? Or Carlyn Beccia? What's the difference? Are we just supposed to know? I guess so. Let's see if she explains it at all. The problem with hashtags is they point the finger and start a war. Yeah, fair enough. And taking that napalm bomb approach points the finger at all men, not just the baddies. Yeah, it does. Consider the last time someone fired an always accusation at you. It could have been something as silly as "you're always late." How did that make you feel? I am sure you got defensive and thought, well, I'm not late every single time. That's a bit unfair. To be clear, I'm not disparaging a movement that gave women the power to accuse their perpetrators. Women already had the power to accuse their perpetrators. The Me Too movement didn't change that. Sorry. There is healing in telling your story. And more women told their story. Fine. And it worked. The U.S. Department of Justice reported an increase in reported rapes in the wake of the Me Too movement. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. This study adjusted for an increase in the incidence of rapes. In other words, it is not that more sexual violations occurred, more were reported. Good. I hope all actual sexual violation, rape, whatever, is reported. It's one of the most important things to do in order to be considered credible, for the claim to be credible. It has to be reported to the police because there has to be an investigation. We can't just take your word for it. We can't just hashtag believe all women because that's not how our due process system of justice actually functions. And honestly, there are plenty of liars out there, men and women alike. So believe all men, believe all women, never going to happen, at least for me anyway. But the good guys were left on the sidelines screaming, "That's not me. Hashtag not all men." And many of those men empathized with the plight of women, but were left without an action plan on how to be their allies. Hashtags may open the conversation, but when was the last time you read someone else's bumper sticker and decided to change the world? The zero-sum game of gender equality. Unfortunately, the movement also caused an unintended consequence. Some men reacted to it with defensiveness. As a result, it caused a subtle backlash of hostility by engendering zero-sum thinking and pitting gender against gender. I would say that gender was pitted against gender long before the Me Too movement, but okay. And we are paying the price in our work environments. Pardon me. Some men, not all, have a mentality that every time a woman gets ahead in her career, a man falls behind. What? She doesn't cite any evidence for this, so I don't really know what she's talking about. I guess there are some men like that, but I don't know what it really has anything to do with the situation. But I guess I'll just read on. Every time a woman gets equality, a man gets less equality. In other words, every time a woman gets a piece of the pie, a man believes he will get less of the pie. Okay? A perfect example is Justice Kavanaugh. 49% of voters agreed with the statement that the reason why he was confirmed was that white men want to hold on to their power in government. Okay. Yeah, I would assume that's true. We have a representative democracy in America, so I think white men should have some measure of power. Great. We are acknowledging the power struggle, but has discussions about who has the power changed the dynamics of power? In Kavanaugh's case, it didn't change a damn thing. Yeah, so what? We have more women in Congress, both the House and the Senate, than at any point in American history. So I would say things are changing. We have a female vice president right now. Things are changing. So again, we've changed the dynamics of power radically in terms of where we are now from where we were 50, 60 years ago. Okay, so let me just read on. Here's a better idea. Let's ditch the memes and hashtags. Stop painting all men as monsters and get to work. So not all men and Me Too feminists, here are ways you can support the women's movement and turn that soapbox into a ladder to reach higher ground. This should be good. Action steps to support women in the workplace. Support child care for women and men. Women have lost economic clout during the pandemic because the burden of child care has fallen on them. No evidence. I already wrote a piece about how the wage gap has increased for mothers only. Here are the cliff notes, let's say. The wage gap gets larger when you compare working moms to working dads. Working mothers earn 39% less than working fathers. In contrast, a man's average income increases after he has children. Well, yeah, that's usually because the women who are mothers are more likely to work part-time. They're more likely to work jobs, even if it's full-time, that don't require higher incomes because maybe they're married to a man who makes more than they do. And so they don't need to go out and earn as much as their husband in order to facilitate their family life. Those are, vital. It's vital context here to this information because the wage gap is a bunch of misinformation, nonsense. Economists, in contrast, a man's average income increases after he has children. Yeah. Your income is going to increase as you get older for most people to some degree or another. And the more likely a man is to have a family, when a man does have a family, he is going to do more to try to earn more to care for that family. Again, that's not about discrimination. Economists have called this the motherhood penalty. Companies also need to give men paternity leave so they can help raise their children. And men, you have to take that paternity leave. You have to stop feeling less of a man if you take 3 months to spend time with your child. Because I promise you this, your work desk isn't going anywhere, but your child is. Yeah, let's see how many women are out there who are going to date and maybe marry a man who's willing to be a stay-at-home father. There's not many of them. There's not very many women who are willing to be the breadwinner in a family, in a marriage, while their husband stays at home and takes care of the kids. So again, this is a problem women are creating. Again, and there's no acknowledgement of this whatsoever. And I don't see anything in here that in this particular action step that women should do. There's nothing, no advice for women here. All right. Oh God, this one's great. Here we go. Share the burden of household chores. I know the men are groaning. How is vacuuming going to change the world? But here's the thing. Women are reporting that they are now getting fewer hours to do their job because of their increased household responsibilities. This hurts the entire economy, not just men. Again, this is nonsense. And the article, the study she cites is a study in India. India. Gendering COVID-19. I'm so glad I clicked on this link. Gendering COVID-19. Impact of the pandemic on women's burden of unpaid work in India. Wow. How dishonest is that? Not to mention, in America, men today, husbands and fathers today, are doing 3 times as much household labor as they did 40 years ago. Not to mention that a lot of these studies that actually examine the equitability of domestic chores often fail to account for the stuff that men do, traditionally do, like car maintenance, work outside the home, like on the lawn maintenance, or just broader property maintenance. Most of the time, those studies or those polls only focus on traditional women's work. The stuff that women traditionally used to do because they were the homekeeper, while the man went out and earned a living. So again, this is all advice for men, when ostensibly this is supposed to be for women too. Supposedly this advice is supposed to be for women and men. This is going to be a long video. Jesus Christ. Stick up for women when you see sexual harassment in the workplace. When you see examples of toxic masculinity, insert eye roll here, challenge it. 75% of women who spoke up about sexual harassment experienced retaliation. We need allies. I should start clicking on these links while I'm reading it. I don't know. That's an article, so I'm not going to read the article. Here. So, again, this was originally supposed to be advice for everyone, right? Where was it? I thought, okay, here we go. Here's a better idea. Let's ditch the memes and hashtags. Stop painting all men as monsters and get to work. So not all men and Me Too feminists. Not all men and Me Too feminists. Here are ways you can support the women's movement. But all I see so far, at least, are stuff directed at the guys. Because the next one is acknowledging male privilege. From the time a baby boy flashes his first smile, he is treated differently than a girl. Parents are 2.5 times more likely to Google, "Is my son gifted?" than "Is my daughter gifted?" Oh my God. How about the fact that girls are more likely, infant girls are far more likely, I don't remember the exact numbers, but are more likely, will be picked up and comforted more quickly than infant boys are when they cry. How about that? That's an actual study that has actual research, not a Google search result. That's evidence? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God. That's her evidence for male privilege. Guess what parents are Googling most about girls? Is my daughter overweight? Parents want to know if their son is a genius and if their daughter is fat. This is the world we live in. Acknowledgement is the first step toward enlightenment. Give me a break. Mors tua vita mea. That's Latin, I believe. In the workforce, sexual harassment comes with economic costs for all, not just women. Sexual harassment costs over $327 million every year in lawsuits. It costs the U.S. Army alone over $250 million. Let me see what her link is for this. The Institute for Women's Policy Research. Sexual harassment and assault at work. Understanding the costs. I'm sure they are completely unbiased and neutral arbiter of all of this information. That's money coming out of everyone's tax dollars. And that doesn't even account for the lost productivity, mental health costs, and higher employee turnover. But we can't fix this if we treat it as a zero-sum game. There's a Latin phrase that shows just how old zero-sum thinking is. Mors tua vita mea. It means your death is my life. Men don't lose power when women get more power. We are on the same team, the same beautiful life team. Choose life. Well, Carolyn, it doesn't seem like we're on the same team because you had no advice at all for what women can do to improve the situation. This is all directed at men. It's ridiculous. This is the kind of crap that we're encountering out in there in the world. Women who don't want equality, they want special treatment. That's what this essentially is, special treatment. And one thing that I'm going to start focusing on the channel is a book I recently encountered called Loving Men and Respecting Women. It's about gender politics, the nature of feminism in its modern form, and how essentially all of gender politics actually balances out equally. Where we essentially there's male power and female victimization that go with one another, and then there's female power and male victimization that go with one another. And that both sides mirror one another. The traditional male role and the traditional female role mirror one another in terms of the good and the bad that each side has to offer. But anyway, that's the end of this article here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And leave me any comments if you have any questions or concerns about anything that I've said in this video or any of my other ones. And This is my oh, I always forget. I have, if you want to email me, my email address is therevolutionarymail@gmail.com. My name is Alex. This is The Revolutionary Mail. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one.